Hey everybody, welcome back to James Draws Everything, continuing today, drawing every country in the world's flag. And I know yesterday I said that Hungary was the penultimate European episode, and turns out I lied, because we actually have two countries left, and we're going to be doing one of those today. We're going to be finishing off Scandinavia, and that means we're doing the country of Sweden. Right, so this is going to be a pretty quick one today. You've definitely seen this flag or something similar to it in all these kind of Scandinavian slash Norse, Danish sort of episodes. It's the Danneberg cross. They're all kind of the same, just slightly different color schemes here. So we'll do a quick history of Sweden as I bang this out. So Sweden, they've been inhabited since around 12,000 BC, prehistoric times. A lot of kind of people of Norse origin there, Vikings, all that good stuff when you think of Scandinavia. With Sweden too, a big kind of talking point about Sweden today, especially among fans of social welfare programs and things like that, is that Sweden, one of the happiest places in the world, look, they can do it, how come we can't? Well, there is kind of a reason why they developed there, because as you can imagine by kind of where it sits on the globe, Sweden is very cold, right? I mean, there are variations in the climate, depending on where you are, but it's a tough place to live in as far as agriculture and just general survival. So the Swedish people kind of have that built into their DNA, communal sort of work and attitudes towards living, because you cannot make it on your own up there. All right, so it's always kind of played a role in their sort of politics and just kind of how they structure society, because you got to have teamwork up there, I guess. So Norse people, they're written about even as far back as the Roman times. Tacitus writes about it in Germania, although he never actually encountered the Swedes. They are written about. So they were always kind of known. The birthplace of the Russian people is actually in Sweden. The Rus started there, before migrating east and, becoming the Kievan Rus and, forming what is basically now Russia. It's a little interesting tidbit. Around the late 10th century, a unified Swedish state is formed, and a couple centuries later they join Norway and Denmark to form the Kalmar Union, so basically a Scandinavian kingdom, and Sweden leaves that kingdom in 1523, right? And Sweden does become Protestant, so they have a lot of the same attitudes towards Catholicism, namely the Pope, kind of anti-Catholic movements spring up there. So they're kind of on the Protestant side during the 30 Years' War. And the Kingdom of Sweden, they never really had a global empire, like you would think of with the British, French, Portuguese, Spanish. But they were a pretty big power player in Europe for quite some time. And, maybe that's kind of forgotten about now. And during the 30 Years' War, they have a general, Gustavus Adolphus, and he's kind of regarded as sort of one of the first modern generals. And this is sort of where Sweden kind of starts expanding its territories, and they form a Swedish Empire, which kind of lasts until the early 18th century. So they're pretty much in control of most of the Baltic region of Europe, and so that includes Finland as well. And there's a series of wars, northern wars, kind of between Sweden, or the Kingdom of Sweden, and Russia. Right, so Sweden actually goes to war with Russia quite a bit, and this is kind of how Finland starts. So Sweden does lose what becomes the state of Finland to the Russians as a result of this, and this is kind of where Swedish power in Europe starts to wane a little bit. So they make kind of the same mistake that Napoleon did, right? You don't invade Russia, right? Because Russia, it's like the Energizer Bunny. They just got so many people. They view things like attrition and stuff, differently than others. So when you show up on their turf, they just open the floodgates and send infinity Russians towards you, until you eventually just gotta call it quits and throw in the towel. So kind of the same thing happened to Sweden, that happened to Napoleon, during the Napoleonic Wars. And so 18th, 19th century, they start losing a lot of territory. So Finland is in 1809, and you might think also, I thought Sweden was, this peaceful, neutral, kind of like the northern Switzerland, right? They're always neutral and everything. Well, that is true. Actually, the very last war Sweden was involved in was in 1814, where they forced what is now Norway into a union, and that lasted roughly a century. Norway and Sweden actually peacefully separate in 1905. So then after that, you pretty much have the modern borders of what is now the nation state, the country of Sweden. And Sweden, again, neutrality. They remain neutral in World War I and World War II, rapidly industrializing during this period. Modern Sweden, very sort of a high income place to live. A lot of technology in Sweden. I believe they were rivaled for a while there only by the Germans as far as like the amount of patents that were, approved, requested, or whatever. So a lot of inventions come from Sweden. They always rank very high on stuff like the Human Development Index and things like that. Modern Sweden, remains to be seen what will happen there, because peaceful Sweden, it's actually one of the, believe it or not, it actually has like a warning when you look on the the travel advisory board, and a lot of that is due to the fact that they're accepting infinity migrants from third world countries. So a lot of these places in peaceful Sweden are now no-go zones, right? Because they've been pretty much overrun by people from North Africa, the Middle East, that have not assimilated. So, and that also puts a strain on their social welfare programs, right? Because a lot of this just goes towards helping quote unquote refugees and migrants instead of the Swedish people. Where again, I've talked about this on some of the other I believe it was a Norway episode. When you have it like voluntary, as far as like your your social programs and things like that, you can make it work. When you add multiculturalism, maybe not as much, right? Because it's kind of forced on people, and it's not something that kind of grew organically over hundreds of years, centuries of living in some pretty rough conditions, and requiring cooperation, basically just to survive. So again, quick episode today. That is Sweden. You recognize the flag. That's the Danneberg, the Danish flag, and the colors. They don't really have any particular meaning. They reflect those of the Swedish coat of arms, which has 3 gold crowns, so the gold there, on a blue field. So that is Sweden, and let me know what you think. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I will catch you on the next video.